Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Signal 50 podcast with your hosts, Alpha, Bravo, and Delta. Gents, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. We had not, it seems like everything happened from our last show that we just had. But hey, we're here to talk about it.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen, and happy Thanksgiving. And we're 3 weeks out from Christmas and that time of year. I'm going to say Christmas out loud for all those people who voted for Joe Biden. Merry Christmas.
I think there were like 10 people that really voted for Joe Biden.
Really voted. But, holiday season, I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit about Thanksgiving. I hope we do today. And, glad to be here. Glad to be back. One programming note here, I will actually be on the road next week. So as much as I love being here with you guys, I'm not sure I can make this thing mobile enough where I'll be able to sign on. That's a shame.
Well, we wish you safe travels wherever it is that you're headed. So, let's talk a little bit about Thanksgiving. Okay, so how weird was this Thanksgiving?
Anticlimactic. Just 100%. We wanted to go. I want to do some traveling. Can't. Want to go see people. You shouldn't. You got a governor running around telling people he can't get together. And you can no more than 10. But then again, every rule changed every moment and family members that didn't want to get together because of the COOF pandemic. So it was like another day, and another day to make a turkey. That's what it came down to.
So I'll tell you that we didn't follow any of the, I'm using air quotes, nobody can see me, but rules that we're supposed to. Mm-hmm. I will say for the folks, and you heard me last week, I'm all covered out, right? So my family, and I have children, small children, some of them with some potential issues, if you want to look at it that way, just to qualify what I'm about to say. But we've built a bubble of folks, and there's probably about 15 or 20 of us when this thing first started, where we kind of said, these are the people that we can trust around our family, and we're not going to, I'm not going to sit in my house and wear a mask, and I'm not going to, let people or make people that haven't been in my house before if I know that they're in my bubble. So that's the lead up to this Thanksgiving. We spent time at part of our bubble's house, and I think there was 10, 12, 15 people, something. And we all had somewhat of a Thanksgiving. Obviously, we're thankful for a lot of stuff. But the weird part is where I would normally spend time with my family or, doing a very large family gathering. We did that via some Zoom-like thing. And while it was fantastic to see my family and have that interaction, it's just not the same thing. And I'm so over it. I said it last week, and I'm over it. I'm still over it. I don't want to do another virtual hangout or, virtual Tinder or whatever. First of all, how is anybody dating nowadays? That's that. And if anybody's out there that's listening wants to answer that question, send us an email, hit me on Parler, come on the live chat. I want to know how people are dating nowadays. I don't have to worry about it, but I really feel bad for the single folks out there. Anyway, that's my.
Do you remember in the beginning? When Fauci, the Fauci mouth there, said that you can hook up, it's fine, but no long term. I'm like, what? Well, it's supposed to be direct contact.
I mean, are you wearing masks when you're hanging out?
He was just trying to be cool to hook in the millennial crowd. I mean,
I guess
that's all it was. As far as this whole virtual family get together goes, I can see the benefit of it. You can always claim bandwidth issues when you've had enough of somebody.
Yeah, when Uncle so and so gets on the nerves, I get it.
Yeah, had a little too much eggnog there. Okay, goodbye.
I think though it really does hit home a little bit too hard though, because now the holiday season, when you're looking forward to spending time with people and catching up, and humans are actually social beings. We want to be in groups. We want to be together. We want to share experiences. That's how we learn from each other. Quite frankly, this is getting ridiculous. I mean, the orders that have no real reason to happen, and people are starving for attention. There's more, and they have terrible detrimental. So not to bring a killjoy here, but I think it's not good overall. And I think the public health issues that go along with it. I think there are some people that think that we should sacrifice everything, even the Constitution, for public health.
Wrong.
Well, again, I agree with you, Alpha, 100,000%. But there are people out there that really think it's everyone's responsibility to keep everyone else safe. And I said, nope, doesn't go that way. And there are issues where there are families within families that have very different opinions on how to go about this and what to do about it. And it causes a lot of strife, and you're seeing increases in divorce and stress. So there's a lot of side effects, and not just like this one size fits all. Make sure everyone stays in place. We, and we protect everybody. No, it doesn't work that way.
Well, let's. You're right. You're absolutely right. So we're American, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have this little thing. It's usually located in our index finger. It's called the freedom gene. Okay, It's right there between the last knuckle and the tip of your index finger. It's called the freedom gene. It's right there. All Americans really have it. True Americans really have it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't contain us. We're generally not going to listen. We're rebellious by nature, and basically go screw yourself. We're going to do what we want.
Mm-hmm.
We'll follow your rules, but when you start to get crazy about it, then we're going to start pushing back, and that's really what's happening. And I'm glad to see it. Good.
Mm-hmm.
You can't stop a virus with a 50-cent mask made out of a T-shirt. It doesn't work.
No, the face diaper doesn't work. Okay,
it doesn't work.
And I also want to say that the notion that if anybody dies from first of 250,000 Americans or people, some of them probably weren't actually Americans if you think about it. They might be illegal aliens in the country, but 250,000 people in this country have died from COVID to date, plus or minus, right? More plus than minus. And no life is, no life should be taken in any way. However, what we're failing to recognize and what we're failing to see is how many people have died because of drug overdose, alcohol overdose, domestic abuse, not going to see their doctor for cancer treatment. How the president said it, the cure can't be worse than the disease. That's true. But more than that, I am just so frustrated with we can't let somebody die from COVID, but we can let somebody die from cancer. Or we can't let somebody die from COVID, but we can let somebody die of domestic violence. And all of that is just absolute. It's asinine. It is so backwards thinking. And people have got to realize that, Americans will do what they need to do for the greater good. We did it in the beginning. They told us it'd be 2 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, and then this would be fine. We would flatten the curve and we'd be fine. We are 10 months into this absolute ridiculousness.
And nothing that they have told us to do has worked.
No,
right.
Nothing has worked. And if we only let people do the smart thing, and you let capitalism take over and take the reins, you will see that people will do the right thing. Nobody wants to see people get hurt or die from this deal. But people do want to have their freedoms, and they sure as heck don't want them taken away from people like Cuomo and Newsom and these idiots that break their own rules. And it's just flat out wrong.
And just really quick, I brought up the CDC website here for everyone to take a look at. It was updated on November 27th. It goes through all the do's and don'ts. Now, the one thing I don't understand, wear a mask intended for healthcare workers, for example, N95 respirators. Why not? As an American, if I choose, I want to wear an N95 mask, can I? So there are recommendations, wear the mask 2 or more layers, this and that, I think it's all nonsense. It's all fluff, and it's actually not making any sense to me in my line of work, why they're coming up with these cockamamie. And this is the first time I looked at the CDC website in a long time, because I don't really think they know what they're talking about. And I'm going to be shunned for this, I'm sure. But the CDC really, they have no idea. They have no idea what kind of damage they're doing with this kind of information they're putting out and making it look official, because it came from a .gov website. And they change their minds every 2 seconds. It just drives me absolutely crazy.
So I'll tell you, Bravo, I go to a gym regularly that opened up about 2 months after the pandemic, right? So we're talking back in May-ish, late May-ish.
Yeah, May.
Yeah, they started opening it back up again. And they started at 50 people per segment if you sign up, da-da-da-da-da. Well, they increased it to about 100, but then recently, just before the Thanksgiving week, they dropped it down to 50, back down to 50, and I went to the owners, and we got to wear masks, and unless you're doing running or something like that, but if you're just working on weights and stuff, you got to wear a mask. It's the rule, which I'm fine with. I'll wear it if it makes people comfortable. But here's the thing. So I went to one of the folks that work at the gym, and I said, "Hey, did we have a spike or something down here that I didn't know about? Did we? What's up?" And they're like, "No. And in fact, all of our mechanisms have kept us safe. We haven't had any outbreaks at all in the gym." I said, "Then why are you reducing it back down to 50? Is it because that's what the rest of the building's doing, or is it because of some science?" It's like, "No, it's just the trend." And I'm like, "You're kidding me, right? So you don't have any actual data? You have no data to back up."
Oh, but they follow the science, right?
What science?
Exactly.
The science says that people weren't getting sick in this gym.
The science says the only way to stop a virus is through either immunization or herd immunity. You can't stop a virus with a diaper on your face. It doesn't work. Stop.
Hey, I want to pause here. Thank Drew for listening to us and catching up on the videos. Drew, we're here for you, pal. If you got anything you want us to talk about, or got any questions for us, we're happy to one, to have you, and two, I'm glad you're playing catch up. It took me a little while to catch up as well, as some of the older listeners know that I wasn't in here on the beginning. So welcome aboard, Drew, and let us know if there's anything we can answer for you. Sorry, back on the rant. What were we talking about, gyms?
Yeah, well, we got to wrap that up. I mean, I think we've just whooped the COVID dog to death. And
yeah, I'm sorry to bring.
COVID sucks.
Well, it's terrible.
Alpha, that's
It's
my
terrible.
fault, but I had enough last week, and I had more of enough this week, and I just can't get away. Everywhere I turn, somebody slapped me in the face with a face diaper or some COVID ridiculous thing that they're coming out with. I'm just playing the game, trying to get through this, but
I'm done playing the game. I'm done playing the game.
Some of us
I'm
have no
absolutely
choice,
done.
pal.
Yeah.
Well, hey, listen, I understand. I have to go do what I have to do to get through my day too, right? I am just done with it. I mean, I walk down. I have a dog that I walk. Okay, I walk him. Leads me on to what's going to happen next here. I walk him. There's a trail around my neighborhood. Around a lake, whatever. And I walk, and people come up, and I won't wear a mask while I'm out walking my dog outside. And people will come up, and they'll suddenly pull their mask up as they get closer to me. And I stop, and I look at them and say, "Why are you doing this?" "Because I don't want to get COVID." I'm like, "Okay, you're outside." "But no, stop it. Just quit it. Quit. It's ridiculousness." Anyhow, enough of that. So, like what you said, that this has been a trying time for the last 10 months of flattening the curve. Well, here's the thing. You can tell a lot by what's going on by looking in people's recycling bins. Okay? So tomorrow I'll take I'll take the dipstick on the situation tomorrow. We'll throw in a 20% factor for Thanksgiving, because people drink too much during Thanksgiving anyways. But what I'm going to tell you is I pay attention. And every Monday morning when the recycling goes out in my neighborhood, I walk past the recycle bins and I look in there. and you see more and more and more empty booze bottles in these recycling bins. And we're at the point now that certain forms of marijuana are legal, or for certain people where I live, and all you smell in my neighborhood now, you never used to smell. All you smell in the morning, noon, and night is pot. People are staying home, day drinking, and smoking weed. That's all they're doing. It's bad.
And they're given
But
incentives
nobody's
to do
talking
so.
about that. Nobody's talking about that. Come on. We're not, right? We're talking about it. Some folks, Dan Bongino's talking about it. Some folks on Fox are talking, but the vast majority of people are not talking about how really hard this has been on people and how much people are actually getting hurt from being forced to stay home.
Right.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Drew brings up a couple things here.
He's talking about
wearing a mask and
chemical and acid resistant coatings for the military.
Yeah, I see.
It's
All right.
epoxy based paint.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
That would be something you want to wear a mask for when you're using it.
It's incredibly difficult with the EPA to work with that stuff here domestically. You've got to meet a lot of requirements for it. So
Gotcha.
wear
All
a
right.
mask. Yeah.
Yeah.
Drew, we're with you. We got you on that one. Yep. Gotcha. So anyhow, we have some other things that we want to talk about. I think it would be probably a good thing to get into what's really going on in this country right now. COVID. Yep, it's out there. It sucks. There's nothing we can do to stop it, and I don't see any end in sight until people just decide that they've had enough. You're not jabbing me with a vaccine. It's not happening ever. But anyhow, so look, everyone on the left is saying, "Oh, there's no voter fraud. Don't look over here. Look over here." Well, I got news for you. The evidence that's starting to come out regarding voter fraud in Georgia, Wisconsin, Nevada, and Pennsylvania, to say the least, is stunning.
Yeah. Here is the Epic Times, our official go-to newspaper and website for what's happening, because they're very fair and not calling elections without having real reason to do so. And you were mentioning what's going on in Wisconsin and Georgia. We talked about this the last show, Alpha, when we were kind of going through each state. I won't do that again. We can, there's some things that have changed, some minor things, but the big things are that Pennsylvania tomorrow, the state legislature is looking to pass a resolution to take the powers back, send their own electors. Nevada is it Nevada or Arizona? They're having a hearing tomorrow. Talk about some of the evidence. Rudy Giuliani's going out there with his witnesses, and they're going to start talking to the legislatures out there. So it's slowly but surely, the court decisions are bouncing between. We need to get to the Supreme Court, and it has to go through the big old paper windmill section. It has to go through the whole process to get up to the Supreme Court. So these decisions, if you listen to the mainstream media, they will say we've lost everything that we've ever started. That's not true. We've won cases here and there, but it's a slow process to get there. So patience is something that no one has.
Yeah. So
Well,
there's not
there's
a
a
lot.
lot. There's a
I'm
lot
sorry,
of
go
evidence,
ahead,
and not there's a lot of evidence and not a lot of time to put it on the table.
Correct.
The Constitution doesn't allow a lot of time. Okay. So one, we're working against the clock. And everybody knows that. We talked last week about the reason why Sidney Powell is going her own way, because her case takes time. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, what I find really interesting is the similarities between. I mean, how else do you really pull off conspiracy? But by having so little imagination as Democrats and liberals do, that they can't even figure out how to swap it up in the other swing states that they need, right? So the problems that Giuliani's finding in Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania are all very similar because the states are very similar. The makeups are similar, white working class, urban minorities, and the minorities turned out for Trump this time, but we couldn't let that happen as liberals, so we'll go ahead and fake it till you make it. So the similarities are striking, and that just goes to show what a lack of imagination these folks have in being able to pull off something like this. And I am really starting. I in the beginning I was like, man, maybe we did have this many people turn out. But the more evidence that comes out, the more I see, and I think that there might be something there. And what bothers me the most is not that I'm coming to the realization that there's probably a significant amount of fraud, but how duped I was for the last however many years I've been able to vote. I think it's about 30 or 35 years by now. How duped I was that this stuff has probably been going on all along. And nobody ever brought it up because it was just the next guy's turn in line, right? So,
Yeah.
So I feel a little bit like an ass because, I like to think that when I vote, my vote meant something.
Oh, how wrong you are.
Disenfranchisement.
Well,
That's what you're talking about.
Well, absolutely. Let's look at it. We were discussing before the show, Delta, before you came on, they're doing some random sampling in one of the states in Georgia of people that were sent absentee ballots. And they were asked, did you vote? And the answer was no, I did not. Did you use your absentee ballot? No, I did not. Well, it shows here that you did. Oops.
20,000 times.
I get
20,000 times.
20,000 individual cases of that. They cannot track back the ballots to a valid voter.
And that's
so
enough
we have
to
some
turn,
problems.
That's enough to turn Georgia.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right?
It sure is.
So that's enough to turn Georgia. So again, I whatever the machine is behind it, right? How sick of a bunch of people, how sick, right? You go back to George Washington, who didn't even want to be president, who said, we don't need an executive. And when they finally did bring an executive on, and they wanted George Washington to do it, he didn't want to do it. And then when they wanted him to re-up after 4 years, he said, but that's it. How far away from that have we gotten?
Well, far enough to where Drew brings up a great question here that voting puts citizens on a list and, random name drawings for jury duty. You're absolutely correct. People have been called for jury duty and they're illegal aliens and they can't serve, but they voted. The driver motor laws, basically you get a license and then you can register to vote, puts people on the list that shouldn't be there. Again, we talked about this a little while back about we need to redo the entire voter laws. And again, they're relegated to the states. The states have to run it. But if there was some guidelines or federal guidelines that every state has to meet, and if they decide they want to employ a certain computerized voting system, these voting systems have to meet this, and this to be allowed. That's definitely a voter ID. We went through all this, but that's something else that we're finding out that the voter rolls are 100% inaccurate.
Yeah, but in light of what's happening now and where we are now, I will tell you that, and I believe in sovereign states. I do. I understand that. I work in an industry where I deal with 54 kings or queens and their fiefdoms, and you have to play the game in order to get them all to work together. So I get it. But I will tell you, this is one instance, this federal election, presidential election, Senate election, congressional elections, I think there needs to be left and right limits. I don't think we can leave this up to the states anymore. I really don't. This is I really opened up my eyes, I think, at this point. Really opened up my eyes.
Yep.
Well, let's put it to you this way. This is definitely an eye-opening experience, okay? When you come to and you hit it right on the head, Delta, when you come to the stunning realization that I live in a constitutional or representational republic, and I vote for my representatives. And this was one of the basic premises that our country was founded on. You have representation, no taxation without representation, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden you come to the stunning realization that the fix has always been in. Where does that leave us as a country, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you find out that all of these voting systems were used by third world dictators in Venezuela and other wonderful hotspots around the world, and there were payouts to officials in Georgia, according to Sidney Powell, hundreds of millions of dollars were given to these people to go ahead and install the system for Dominion that was never voted on by the legislature.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, there you go. Here's your voting system. We didn't vote on any of this. Well, here it is. Swallow. Well, there it is.
And that's why it's important that they go through the system, due process. Everything should go through a certain process to ensure that this stuff doesn't happen. But when corners are taken, or in Pennsylvania's legislature example, we talked about this last time, they gave away their rights to the executive branch. They said, you take care of it. That's what's happening. So the legislatures have to get their acts together too.
Well, I think this, and we should just kind of get ready to close this part out, but I think in order to, alleviate this problem, it's really funny, right? Mm-hmm. It's really funny that the people that scream the loudest about voter registration are the people that probably pulled off the greatest scam in the history of the planet. They
accuse you or us of doing the thing that they're doing in plain sight.
The virtue is the virtue is the crime. So, look, you want voter ID, you're a racist because black people can't get IDs. Well, wait a minute.
Can they get it for Medicaid?
Well, black people can drive.
Illegal aliens can get driver's licenses. If you can get a driver's license, if you can get a gun permit, don't tell me that there's nobody out there, without a gun permit. Then you can get a voter ID card with a picture and a signature. And for crying out loud, here's the other thing. I vote by mail. I said that a couple of shows ago. Okay. I'm willing to give up my right to vote by mail if it means cleaning this garbage up. And then I would have to show up at a polling place and show my ID in order to vote. If I've got to spend money to do that or whatever, then I'm willing to give up my right to do absentee ballot. Even I feel bad, right? Because you have military folks that are overseas that vote absentee ballot. There's got to be a better way. But this mass mail-in voting, unsolicited ballots, unsolicited mail, people,
all part of the plan, my friend. All part of the plan.
That's what it was. It was garbage. A plan. It was a plan. It was a plan to go ahead and take advantage of the loopholes, I guess.
Fellas, all joking aside, and I kid a lot, I'll be dead serious with you. This isn't the America that I dream of. This is not the America that I want my kids to grow up in. The fact that I even have to have this conversation makes me sick to my stomach.
Mm-hmm. You're not the only one.
My kids have to grow up here.
If there's a country left.
And I don't want them to have to play the game. I want them to grow up in the greatest country in the land where we get brothers and sisters out there dying and fighting for freedoms that these morons are taking advantage of. That these pretentious idiots are fighting or cheating for power and using soldiers and airmen and Marines to sit on top of an ivory tower. I'm done with it. And that's not the country I want my kids to grow up in.
Well, let's use that as a great way to move on to our next topic. What is this really? I mean, if you live in a country where we have free and fair elections, you go and you vote, and you go and you're happy about your choice, And you sit there and you cross your fingers. And in a perfect world, if your guy doesn't win and it's a clean election, clean, then you say, okay, I get it. I'm going to hang on to it. I'm going to hang on to that. I lost this round. Okay, peaceful transition to power. Let's move on. Let's live to fight another day. That's not the way this works anymore, apparently. Okay. First of all, this is a coup. Full stop. When Donald Trump came down that escalator in 2015, the first words out of his mouth were, your country isn't run by the people you think your country is run by. You are not represented the way that you think that you're represented. We're going to stop all that. We're going to return the power to the people. Well, I got news for you. The globalists can't have that. I know this has taken kind of a weird turn, guys, but this is really what it is. This is a coup d'etat. It's no longer a soft coup where we're trying to administratively screw with the president all the time. This is a hard coup. This is a power grab. This is not America. This is not what we're all about.
No, it's not. But the problem is there's a select few who feel that their value system, I think we said this in one of the earlier shows also, the value systems that we all hold dear, and if we have a discussion or a disagreement, used to be where you could say, you know what, we agree to disagree, and I respectfully disagree, and you move on, and you find ways to find a resolution or some kind of common ground, and move on. Unfortunately, the polarization that we're all seeing right now amongst all the people in the tribal zones, and people are going into groups, and it all started with Obama. He did all this. He put everyone into groups and put one group against the other. And what ended up happening was you started seeing this imposing of one's beliefs and values on another person, and not being able to say, you know what, we're going to agree to disagree. And this is what ends up happening is you have a bunch of people that think that they know how to run the country better. They know what's best. And there's a lot of people that make a lot of money off of jobs after they're done with government because they think that it's owed to them in order to go ahead and get their money, because they don't get paid a lot. Right, we're talking about this. The senators get $174,000. They're the highest level executive person that they could get money for. That pay grade, I guess, and they feel that it's owed to them. So you have a bunch of people that are not willing to let go of the power, or they get corrupted by that power. And there's talk, and I believe this wholeheartedly, that Obama is still holding on to. He's running the shadow government from behind and trying to take down President Trump throughout his entire first 4 years. And this is just the icing on the cake.
Well, it really is. I think this is the pinnacle of their effort here, is to take an election away from a duly elected president. I think that time will tell that our election prediction was a lot more accurate than anybody's willing to admit. Mm-hmm. And the reason why they're doing this is they did so much dirty crap on both sides, Democrat and Republican, and this is the fight of their lives to keep their head above water. Mm-hmm. And if Trump is to win, these people are screwed. They're screwed. They held off as long as they could with all the investigations and everything, and stiff-armed everything as best they could. This is the end of the line for them. If he is to win, they're toast. I firmly believe that.
So let's talk about that. There's still a way for President Trump to come out on top, and he's going through the motions. Everything legal, of course, everything that is allowed by law and the Constitution. I think they're trying to if Pennsylvania succeeds tomorrow, and we'll see. Again, that whole wait and see thing drives me crazy, but that's the way the world is. If they can get it to the point where we're gonna make this not send or we have an objection, or we cannot certify our votes for the electoral college, then what ends up happening is it goes to the Congress, the House of Representatives. They all get one vote, and President Trump, you're in there for another 4 years.
Yeah, before that, though, it goes to the Supreme Court.
Does it?
And
It has to go there first?
That's an important step. Yeah, the Supreme.
All right.
So what'll happen is, and it keeps happening, and I think the Trump team. I'm speculating here because I'm not talking to anybody on the Trump team, but I think the Trump team understands that they're going to take losses at the state level, right? Because they're all blue states, and that includes their Supreme Courts, unfortunately. But they've all become fairly political. And then it goes to the Supreme Court. Now, if the Supreme Court can't decide or can't make a decision or takes away the votes, and I think that's really what you're talking about there, Bravo. The idea here is if you negate Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, possibly Arizona, then you have somewhere in the neighborhood of 230-something votes for Trump and 247 for Biden. In that case,
no one gets to 270.
No one gets to 270. That's when the Congress steps in. And that's when the Congress, and then Trump gets a second term with the way that things are supposed to shake out.
Well, the idea here is to get one of the states to flip and negate the votes that were counted against the state constitution, like in Pennsylvania.
Well, Pennsylvania is an Alpha, I want to jump on this before you move too far. Pennsylvania is really interesting because...
Yes, it is.
Because of all of the laws, Pennsylvania state laws, that were broken in order to pull off this election. Forget about the fraud. I get the fraud. We're all on board with that.
They broke all the laws.
But they broke the laws. They literally flew in. This is how pretentious these idiots. I want to say other words. I really do. I'm trying to keep it family friendly. But this is how egomaniacal and ridiculous these people
How about just
actually
evil?
think they are.
Yeah,
How about just evil?
They actually think that they can just say, well, Pennsylvania state law says this, but I'm the Secretary of State or I'm the governor. We're going to do that. It bleeds into the point we talked about earlier about the COVID, and I'm not going to bring that back up, but I said it, so it's kind of like I brought it back up. I'm breaking down all the fourth walls here, folks. I just want you to know. But it just the sheer fact that you are not a king. You are not a king. Okay? There is no divine power to you, Governor so-and-so. You are elected by the people to represent the people. It's the same thing for the president. It's the same thing for the Senate. It's the same thing for the Congress. And I get it that they make a lot of money and that they have a lot of fancy stuff and this and that and the other. Trust me, I get it. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. I'm all about it. I understand it. But forgetting exactly what got you to the place where you're at is that the mistake these people make. It's the mistake Cuomo made with trying to, have Thanksgiving with his family and getting caught, and Gavin Newsom having whatever he was having out there in California in the fancy French restaurant.
Denver mayor went to actually did
Denver
his little
mayor
trip.
Actually
went on his trip.
Got on a plane, right? So this is exactly. I mean, the fact that you don't think that you're going to get caught lets me know that you are so far out of touch with reality.
Or you have devised a way to keep getting elected that nobody can really fool with. Brings us back to the point, is this a coup? How long has this been going on? How is there any way that these wacko morons can keep getting elected in the manner that they get elected in? Who knows? Who knows who's got their thumb on the scale?
I don't think they're going to get elected again. I'll be honest with you.
Oh, we didn't think that. Well, that's a different case.
Whitmer?
You missed that one.
Right.
Oh, Gretchen Whitmer, she's gonna get removed. Okay, but here's the
she's
point.
She's not going to make it. There's a bunch of these guys out here that Republicans and Democrats alike. Let me not try to play the partisan card here.
No,
I think a lot of people are going to find themselves either in a hard struggle or getting voted out for somebody who is more honest than they are.
Okay,
but if we don't straighten out this voter nonsense,
they'll keep getting elected.
They'll keep getting elected. So that's
right.
And one of the things I never even thought of, and Alpha, I don't mean to steal your thunder. if we don't fix this voting problem, and this blindsided me too. I think like with everyone else, until this started coming out, I was like, how in God's green earth is Biden getting votes and Trump's losing votes? Or, because I was up the whole night watching these returns, and he was ahead by a whole lot by the time most people went to bed. Then all of a sudden the votes stopped counting, and the votes stopped counting some more. And then all of a sudden Biden's ahead. This statistically didn't make sense, and I'm not a statistician, but I can read those things. It didn't make any sense. So we got to fix this. We got to fix this mess.
Well, there is a statistician out there that was testifying, and I can't remember his name.
Brainard?
Yeah, Brainard. Yeah, that's right. He was like, there were 300,000 or 176,000 votes came in all of a sudden for Joe Biden in one of the states. I think it was Pennsylvania. And during that same time, in the same tranche of votes that came in, only 3,200 for Trump came in.
Yeah, they were saying actually 575 total compared to only 3,200 of all the votes that came in were for President Trump. And you're telling me with all those get-togethers he had at airports that he couldn't get that many votes? Baloney.
Statistical impossibility.
Right.
It's a statistical impossibility. It just boggles the mind. So basically, guys, this brings us a full circle back around to where we started, where I started this topic on our second topic. The idea of free and fair elections, and what this really is that we're going through right now from the other side. This is a coup. Very simple. There's a party in power. The other people don't want them in power anymore, so let's put our thumb on the scale and get rid of them. This is not the will of the people. This is a coup. How do you trust an election after this?
Well, there's another problem. How are we going to get this fixed?
I don't know. I don't think we're going to be able to solve that problem here tonight, but I certainly would like to. So, look, we're going to have to keep an eye on it. There's a whole lot of things that are going to be happening this week and next. They've got a hard deadline of December 17th, I believe, by the Constitution to go ahead and get the electors wrapped up. And we'll have to see. We're going to have to keep an eye on Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. Pennsylvania and Wisconsin are going to be key. I think Pennsylvania is going to flip for Trump, and I think Wisconsin's going to flip for Trump here really quickly. And then I think it's going to be Nevada, Michigan, Arizona, then Georgia. We'll have to see. And if that's the case, I can sleep good at night because I know that the map that I developed with my good friend Bravo here holds true.
So the question I have is, like the whole process of getting there, again, we'll have to see what happens tomorrow with this resolution, or is it going to go through the courts because they can't get these things certified? We'll have to, again, another wait and see thing, and we'll keep everyone up to date. It's a waiting game, and it's a tough waiting game when it comes down to it.
Well, it is a tough waiting game, and everybody's sitting on pins and needles. Everyone's sitting on pins and needles, but something has to be done, and I think it's got to be voter ID across the board, and everybody's got to show up in person. Period. And there has to be a better way. I mean, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Even India, one of the poorest nations on the face of the planet with the largest population, first or second largest, they can do voter ID for every man, woman, and child that's of voting age in that country. They can do a photo voter ID. How come we can't do it here?
Oh, well, you're asking way too much.
Because we don't want to. Because apparently we figured this out. Hey, listen, I want to shift gears a little bit. Something I'm really comfortable in talking about. Now, everything that's going on, there's a lot of problems in this country. We all get it. We hope that everything stays peaceful. But let's look at something that's very telling in this country right now, and that is for the past several months, basically since the pandemic started, the firearms market has gone absolutely bonkers. They're setting records for instant criminal background checks with the FBI. It's taking 5 to 7 days to come back for a background check just due to workload. from the FBI than they were experiencing. Normally, you go in, you do your 4473, and you walk out with your gun after you go ahead and do your paperwork. Now it's 3, 4, 5 days. There's no stock anywhere. The ammunition companies are backed up billions of dollars in back orders because everything that they're manufacturing is being sold or allocated before it hits the store shelves. It's just, it's the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my entire life. What do you guys think about it? I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. So there was a little bit of this. I don't think it's to this extent. I agree with you, Alpha. This is kind of crazy right now. But there was a bit of this in 2016 as well, when everybody thought that Hillary was going to win. You saw a huge uptick in gun sales. And don't forget that the NRA played a big part in that election, and they played a kind of muted part in this election. I don't know if they're doing quiet things behind the scenes, or it just happens to be people are scared because Beto, what's his actual real name?
Bozo O'Rourke.
I forget his real name, but whoever, Beto O'Rourke.
Robert Francis
O'Rourke. Thank you very much for that. Robert Francis O'Rourke is supposed to have some gun czar position to be a part of this deal. So the Biden deal. So, and he on record, I'm gonna come take your guns. There was some also ridiculous proposal by Biden, which by me saying ridiculous is almost like a double negative, because I anything Biden says is ridiculous. So why I have to qualify that with ridiculous is beyond me. But to the point, he came out with some tax, I think on long rifles, like $200 tax if you're going to purchase a long rifle, and he wants to put that into play. So you're right that people are out there buying guns now while they can. I think in a truly backwards and corrupt administration like we would see with Biden, it won't matter if you buy it now or you buy it later. You're going to get taxed on it anyway, or you're going to be forced to give it up. And that's sad.
Well, I think it's a little bit more than that. You know, look, according to the Brookings Institution, firearms sales have surged by over 700,000 NICS checks a month over the past several months, peaking at like 1.2 million per month in additional gun sales to people who have never purchased firearms before. So are people afraid of a tax, or are they afraid of... What are they afraid of? Okay, let's break it down even further. Why are people afraid?
Well, I mean, you had roving Antifa and BLM Inc. Gangs going up and down streets. The police were not able to protect anyone. You know as well as I do, and we've all been in this situation. God forbid you really need a police officer. You know, someone's coming in your house who's armed and they're coming to get you, and you do everything you're supposed to do. It happens in maybe a minute. And how long does it take for an officer to get to your house, depending on where you live? If you're in the city, maybe 3 minutes. If you're out in the rural area, forever. You'll be long gone, and the crime will be done by the time the police officers arrive. So there's some real fear that if these gangs are going to start infiltrating into the suburbs and areas where they really weren't affected in the first place, people are going to have to protect themselves. And
right.
Sheriffs are even saying it, right? So you have county sheriffs throughout everywhere saying, you got to protect yourselves. I can't do it for you.
That's right.
So,
and it's really a sad situation. And, that speaks volumes. That level of gun and ammunition sales speaks volumes to the ruling class, okay, shall we say.
Mm-hmm.
They really need to be paying attention to the will of the people, right? Defund the police. That's a big thing. All these police departments are losing funding. I'm friends with a couple of police officers here in my jurisdiction. And essentially what it boils down to is These guys are just out there riding in their cars. They're answering all the BS calls. They're not doing any street level policing because they're afraid to get into an entanglement with somebody where they could be either sued, subject to a review board, or fired for actually doing real police work.
Mm-hmm.
So violent crime in my area is spiking because police will not do any broken windows policing. They won't do it because they're so afraid. And this is from the mouth of a sergeant. I was talking to him a couple of weeks ago, and he says, my guys are so scared, they won't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that sucks. And he's like, yeah, tell me about it. He says, everybody's just biding their time to get their 20 and out so they can get their pension. They'll hold on for as long as they possibly can, and then they're going to leave the police department. And anybody that wants to be a cop, God love you, and we support the police. But anybody that's out there that wants to be a police officer in this day and age, I'll keep you in my thoughts and prayers because you don't stand a chance. They will eat you up and spit you out in a heartbeat.
Well, they're not being defended either. I mean, if they make an action to save their own lives, they get put up on social media and they're made out to be the villains. What are the police officers supposed to do? Get shot and then not shoot back? I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I've been there with them. I've been in those situations before. It wasn't for them protecting us, doing our jobs. There's no way we could do it. And this is the thanks they get. I mean, I let them know all the time. Luckily, it's been insulated in my neck of the woods right now. But it's a change if Biden gets in and starts. So
I don't think it's a Biden-Trump thing, okay?
No.
'Cause policing is at the local level, okay? And that's a great opening to what I wanted to say about this. Yeah, there's an issue with the way that we're treating our police officers, and there's some sensitivities issues. Not every police officer is a racist, and in fact, the majority of them are good, decent, honest people that are just trying to do something that they've always wanted to do, and we support them 100%. But there are cases where folks take, again, the power that's bestowed upon them and they abuse it, right? The George Floyd incident, clearly abuse. And those folks are gonna find themselves in court. But that doesn't give anybody the right. It certainly doesn't give these town council folks and these mayors the right to start looking to take resources away from police departments, because it's just going to turn back at them, and it's going to make the living situation in those areas, as Alpha alluded to, even worse.
Right.
I feel terrible about folks just. I mean, it started with Colin Kaepernick, right? So it started with the whole way back when we start to classify and treat police officers as pigs, and this and that and the other stuff.
Well, it also comes from Obama, because he was the one that said that the police officer that was, Trayvon Martin, he acted stupidly. Who the hell is he to say that? Has he ever been in that situation before? Even he may be president, but he's a moron.
Yeah, but
to say that kind of stuff.
I can't listen to anybody that has hired protection, president or not, or any of these folks out in Hollywood who hire their own bodyguards. This is the height of hypocrisy that we talk about all the time.
Yes, it is.
And I went out and back on a little bit of what Alpha was saying earlier. I was always interested in guns, but I grew up in a household where guns weren't allowed. So it wasn't until I was an adult and I had a family that I said, I need to get some protection. Nobody's going to be here when somebody comes crashing through my window or through my basement. And
right.
I want to make sure that if anybody comes up those stairs, they're going to meet the business end, as we call it.
Right.
And you come near my family, that's what's going to happen.
Right.
But
well, it's an old saying, Delta. It's an old saying that we like to use. It's called, you have to be an active participant in your own rescue. Okay. And I think that there's a lot of people out there in the country now that are realizing because of what's going on. And it's not about Trump or Biden. It just isn't about that. It's about the political winds that are blowing and the way people are acting and what's being tolerated in these inner cities. It's a real hard case, right? It's a real hard time. You have to be an active participant in your own rescue. If that means that you have to go out and buy a firearm, get some training, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, I'm all about that if you want to be a responsible gun owner. And I think that's a great thing. It is a right, a God-given right guaranteed by our Constitution that's been backed up by the Supreme Court numerous times, except in New York and a few other places like shall remain nameless.
California.
California.
Maryland.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I can name them.
Yeah. Well, the point is this. You have to be an active participant in your own rescue, and I think that people are scared. I truly believe people are buying things. I went to my local gun shop a week ago, and I know the guys down there. I've done a lot of business with them. And I look at the shelves, and normally they're pretty well stocked. And I said, dude, what's going on? And like people are buying everything. It's like I can put whatever I want on that wall and it's gone in 10 minutes. He said, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to our business, but it's the saddest thing that's ever happened for our country.
Mm-hmm.
All at the same time. When we were kids, we never had to really worry so much about it.
Right.
Now, I think it's a very valid concern. People are freaked out.
They are.
People are really freaked out. And there's a large, we talked about this before, and I got a bit of disagreement from you guys on this before. There's a lot of people out there that are really concerned about the election as well, and the fact that this election could have been stolen. And if it was stolen, there's going to be a reaction. And I don't know what that is. I'm not sure I really want to be around to find out. But there's something happening.
Well, let's open that can of we don't want to go there. Right now, if you were to say, let's just pretend for a second everything works out, Trump gets the nod, he gets he's good to go, he wins. Then you're going to see more of this Antifa garbage and BLM nonsense. And it's going to, they're going to say it was stolen. If it goes the other direction, we're going to, on our end of it, I don't think we're going to go hog crazy and burning down buildings and doing the stuff that BLM and Antifa did for the last 8 months or 6 months or whatever it was. But you're going to see people start protesting. And then those other side members, the bad actors, Antifa and BLM Inc., they're going to start looking for a fight, and then they're going to find one, because now you're it's like a firearm that's cocked and ready to go, and it's all it takes is a spark, and boom.
That's right.
And they get pushed in the wrong way, and people have have died. There was a Trump supporter in Portland, Oregon, that got shot just because he was a Trump supporter, and you about this all the time. And no one's going to take it anymore. And and as well as I do, this election, all the indicators are there. There's no way Biden could have won without help. And people are not going to take this sitting down, and they're going to hit the streets, and they're going to protest peacefully until there's a time not to be peaceful.
Well, half of this country, no matter what the outcome is not going to be happy. That's the reality of it. Okay, this country is split almost right down the middle. Maybe a little bit more right, conservative leaning than left, but for the most part, it's split right down the middle. Now, whether or not folks, whether it's Antifa, BLM, Proud Boys, QAnon, it doesn't matter what your flavor or your color is. People are going to exploit this. This country has walked through time for so long that when folks realize the power of their voice and their power to collectively get together and fight, whether it's physically fight or verbally fight or peacefully protest, people are not sitting down and just taking it anymore. And that's the scary part. And it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. 50%, half of this country is not going to be happy, regardless of the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Dot. End of story.
Right.
So again, we'll have to wait and see. But in the end, I hope cooler heads will remain and win out in the end. But again, Alpha, you bring up a really good point. All it takes is someone to go into a neighborhood that doesn't belong there, and it's going to be showtime.
Absolutely. And that's the hard truth about it. Delta, you're exactly right. No matter what happens here in the next coming weeks, there's going to be half the people are going to be very upset. Period. And one side will see it as, the fascists have won, and our side will say, hey, the good guys won. So, you're right. There's going to be a fight coming in this country, no matter what happens. And I think people are really, and my point is, and you actually made my point for me, I think people see it coming. I think people truly see that fight coming. The fight is coming to your doorstep. Don't make any mistake.
Yep, it is. But on that
really
note,
and on that note, we've been hanging out with everybody here for our allotted hour of your time this week, and we really appreciate it. Delta, how are you coming along with those local plugs?
We're still working on it. We're still getting some feeds in. Give us another week or so, and we should have some folks out here willing to become affiliates.
Well, fair enough. Let's get those guys roped in here so we can get the good word out about them. Okay, for our 4 people that are watching us tonight.
Yeah, but we have a bunch of listeners too. I want to thank
Absolutely.
everyone, especially on Rumble. We're up to 249 last time I checked, and we get about 5 new followers a day. So I want to thank each and every one of you who take the time to listen to us. It looks like Drew here was catching up on our back video. So thank you. We're humbled. We're all doing this. We want to exercise our First Amendment rights. We can't show our faces. We would be fired and canceled in a heartbeat. We have families to take care of, but we are the average American, but we are patriots in the end, and we want to make sure that this country stays just like we remembered it. And we all grew up together. We're all very close, and we get on the phone to talk about current events, and this is how we do it now, to share it with you. So thank you very much.
This is like our modern day COVID Zoom call for our phone in lieu of our phone call. So you all get to be voyeurs in our inner workings here. So
it keeps me from day drinking, I guess.
That makes one of us. So, I got to go to the office tomorrow. I haven't been feeling particularly well lately, but I'm going to have to go anyway. So it's been kind of a tough couple of days here. But anyhow, everybody, thanks a lot for joining us. Be sure to rumble us on Rumble, and check us out on Parler at Signal 50 Podcast. Your usual podcast outlets. If you're listening to us now, you can catch us on iTunes, or I always say iTunes. Why do I say iTunes?
It's the old way of doing it.
They should have never changed it. They should have never changed it. I mean, it was perfect. iTunes, fantastic. Yeah. Great marketing. Everything. They own it. Yeah. It's fantastic. I don't like Apple as a company, but I do like how they roll with their marketing. So it's Apple Music and Google Podcasts. You can catch us on Podbean, and there's a bunch of other outlets, and Amazon. You can catch us on Amazon. What is that called?
Siri? Not Siri. No. That's Apple.
What the hell? Amazon, Alexa.
Everything goes back to Apple. Hey, send us a note. Send us a note, guys.
Yeah, send us notes.
If you're listening out there, seriously.
Even on the podcast, on the replay,
send us a Parler. Send us a email. I think Bravo's got the email address.
A little
info at signal50.com, info at signal50.com. So if you're listening to us on the podcast, on the replay, give us an email. Let us know what you want to hear about, what you want to talk about. If you're on we're only on Parler. We're on Rumble. We use this medium here on YouTube because they have the live stream, but we put this right up on Rumble. So that's where we had. So get on Parler, follow us. Those are our handles underneath our icons here.
Yeah, and lastly, as much fun as this is for us, for those who do listen, either on the live stream or on the podcast, we're here to help give you good content. We can only do that if you let us know that we're giving you good content or bad content. So I'm just very curious as to the folks out there that are listening.
Although no news is good news in our business.
Well,
Well,
see, I
again,
guess.
we'll see.
a
But
little proof of life would be nice, you know.
Right. Thank you, Alpha. You hit the nail on the head there. A little
So,
proof of life
hey,
wouldn't be bad.
Yeah, it wouldn't be bad. Hey, anyhow, everybody, thanks a lot for joining us. We're going to throw in our plug for POF USA, POF-USA.com, makers of the finest AR-15 type rifles anywhere in the world. Some of the lightest, most accurate rifles that you can buy, and some of the most innovative solutions to your personal protection, target shooting, and hunting needs. POF-USA.com. And on that note, I'd like to thank our soldiers, sailors, and airmen for protecting us 365 days out of the year. 24/7. So we really appreciate that. And to our police, fire, and other first responders that are out there, keep up the good fight. Keep doing what you're doing. This is a tough time of year, everybody. Once again, if you see the fire department out there with a boot on a corner, drop a couple bucks in there. They do some really good things with that money. They are really the quickest outreach to the community or people that are in need. So please donate to your local volunteer fire department or your paid professional fire department, because they do hat and mitten drives for the kids. They do all sorts of really good stuff. Become active in your community. You can only make things better if you go out there and you try to help. So thanks a lot, everybody. And on that note, everybody have a great week. Hold on tight, and we'll have to see what happens.
And thank you, Drew, for hanging in with us, too. We'll catch you on the next one. Thanks.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.